You're listening to From a Certain Point Askew, the only Star Wars podcast that's banned from being broadcast in the Inner Rim, but we're huge in getting play around the Outer Rim. Ooh. I'm Jason, the Angry Ginger Jedi Guy, broadcasting live from inside Wookiee Poo Studios. I'm not alone. On the screens, far, far away, but not a galaxy, far, far away, is Darth Mathias.
They really gave us a lot to play with that Inner Rim and Outer Rim, didn't they?
Yeah. Yep. And, we do it even when we're told no.
I do want to say before we get into it, thanks again to Chris and, me from Our Liner Notes.
For doing all the work.
For having us on their/my podcast. If you have not listened to that, we do discuss a bevy of Star Wars topics, episodes 239 and 240. So go check that out. It's a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with that. And it was good to have you on, and we'll have to do it again sometime. I
mean, listeners of this show, how do they not go over and listen to that? It's just more FACPA.
It's basically that.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been trying to promote that. Hopefully some people check it out. And if you want to stick around and listen to more episodes of Our Liner Notes, hey, you go ahead. Feel free.
It's a wise decision. Yeah.
If you want to find our show, it is from acertainpointaskew.com. You can find us on Twitter at FACPA Pod, and you can email us, and a number of you did this week. Thank you. FACPApod@gmail.com.
On the show today, first up in the news, we've got Mando movie After All and a season of 4. There's so much back and forth with this, I'm going to blow my brains out. We got Ahsoka season 2 confirmed, but when? Rey film in Limbo, scrapped Benioff and Weiss film details. That's how we're going to say it. I don't know if it's Benioff and Weiss. Anyways, the fellas from Game of Thrones, their scrapped movie we'll talk about. Tales of the Jedi spin-off rumors. Then we'll go into what if Ben Solo was never redeemed? Yeah. And we got some casting alternatives for the prequels, and then we've got 3 emails in the Maul Bag and 1 voicemail on the FACPA Answering Machine.
Busy, a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it is for an episode without actual content.
Yeah,
new content. We got a big show.
We still pulled it together.
Greetings, galaxy far, far away enthusiasts. Do you find yourself staring into the twin suns, dreaming of untold stories in the Star Wars universe? Well, grab your bantha milk and toss in a spot of spotchka and cozy up to your holo transmitter, because From a Certain Point Askew is making a Kessel Run into your auditory canals.
Ever wondered if that one Jawa who sold R2-D2 and C-3PO had a name? Or what adventures the Mos Eisley Cantina band members get up to when they're not playing the same song over and over? We're looking at you, Figrin Dan and the modal nodes.
Here at Wookiee Poo Studios, yes, you heard that right, Wookiee Poo, we're on a quest more epic than finding the last piece of the map to Luke Skywalker. We're scouring the galaxy for stories about the unsung heroes. The ones who might have been a little blurry in the background of the cantina scene, or those who didn't quite make the cut for a full speaking role.
And let's be honest, we need your stories, because our staff writers are as creatively exhausted as a droid after the Boon to Eve classic. We're talking more talent in your little finger than in our entire studio. Levels of desperation here.
So unleash your inner George Lucas, or dare we say, a less controversial Rian Johnson, and send us your tales. Make them funny, make them weird, make them so good that even a scruffy-looking nerf herder would shed a tear.
Join us, and together we can rule the podcast galaxy. From a Certain Point Askew, where your Star Wars fantasies become our next episode's reality. May the Force be with your pen, or keyboard, or whatever you use these days. Signing off.
Beep, boop, boop, boop.
So no question of the week this week, because I was lazy and didn't get one off. But I did want to give a shout out because last week, Ash Rendar, I think is how you say the name, she sent a response just after we recorded. And so she said, it was the question of, what Star Wars series are you looking forward to in 2024? And she wrote, The Acolyte. So Disney will finally fork over the bag for my I've been sitting on it for 2 years waiting. Her handle is The Acolyte SW.
Oh, nice.
So she was ahead of the game. That was smart. All right, news. So the big news this week was Star Wars just dropped this bomb on us out of nowhere on whatever that was, Tuesday maybe? I can't remember what day that was. Revealing that there's a new Mando film coming, which at this point I guess we're calling The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that have a problem with this title.
Yeah. Well, it's very clever.
It's The Mandalorian and Grogu.
It's very straightforward.
Yeah.
So, and then it also came with some sort of concept art image of Mando and Grogu flying away from an exploding ship. So we'll see what that plays into it. The announcement said it was going to go into development later this year, and that the film will lead the upcoming features for Star Wars. So this is now taking the number one spot and bumping Rey out and anything else out.
Well, what's funny is we've been hearing this rumor back and forth for a while now, and then even the confirmation, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, where Mandalorian season 4, and then they dropped this news. So whoever's like in the rumor mill, been spitting this stuff out for a while, like kudos to you for actually like breaking this. Like I think it was a year ago that we had heard about, but shortly after, I think, Mandalorian season 3, so almost a year ago.
I think it was last summer,
rumors.
maybe is when it first started.
Yeah.
And so, it's been getting kicked around in a bunch of different directions. And it's hard to make sense of exactly where it landed. I mean, the first thing I thought of was, okay, so how does this play into the Filoni film? Because, and the rumor there, if you follow this, is that it's part of a trilogy.
Yeah, which makes sense.
It does make sense. So you would get the Favreau Mando film, Mando and and Grogu. You'd get the Filoni crossover, and then the middle installment will be Rian Johnson's.
Oh, I hope so.
Could you imagine? The world would explode. And the other thing is just like you said, the season 4 stuff. Like we heard all these rumors that the scripts were written by Favreau. He said. Then you see this come out and you think, okay, well, then they did end up moving it into a movie. But then Deadline, who's I think the only one who reported this, said that season 4 was still in development. So then this latest rumor came out. And by the way, so many of these rumors are coming from like Bespin and that Making Star Wars guy that RFB loves so much. So now they're saying they think that it could be that season 4 will happen, and it's going to be 6 episodes, and basically they take the last 2 episodes and add on to that and make that into the movie. So the season 4 would lead into the movie.
I don't know. I don't know what to believe at this point, because it seems like it's all happening and it's not happening, but then what we thought wasn't is. So, but it doesn't make sense. Like where they are right now, where they parked season 3, to me, is a really good spot to just jump into like a movie, an adventure.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And then wherever that kind of goes from, you pick up as a series, because you're going to have a few years before, we see the Ahsoka movie, which was probably where we'll see the Mandalorian again, right? So I don't think like the Mandalorian is done on Disney Plus. I think it's a good idea to put him in the films, and the writing is probably on the wall. Kennedy, nobody wants to give her credit, but there's no movies. Like they keep having a struggle with putting these movies out. So they were kind of smart to be, let's prep this just in case. Because now when we get to the news about the Rey movie, I mean, that's a whole nother thing. So
right. Well, let's talk about Ahsoka for a second. Because kind of buried in that announcement was that season 2 was a go. Which we figured would happen, but we were waiting on official word.
Well, you don't promote the guy who just put the show out and then tell him, you know what, we're not going to do another season. But you can have a movie. Yeah. I think a second series is coming.
Well, so we get that news, and then that sneaky bastard Filoni, or at least the Star Wars and ILM accounts, dropped this sketch that he had done of 2 characters standing on the outstretched arms of the Father from the Mortis God statues that we saw, or the statue that we saw in season 1. And there's a little text that said the story continues, and the 2 characters appear to be Ahsoka and Sabine.
Yes.
So they give that little tease out there, which I thought was fun.
Did you see that somebody animated that?
No.
It's like the image is, the finger, and there's another hand that slides in and pulls it, like to make it fart.
That's funny. But my first question is, okay, so now that we have this Mando stuff in play with a possible season 4, but obviously the movie for sure, and then you've got the Filoni movie, where does Ahsoka season 2 fit? Because I think you could make the Mando Grogu movie without Ahsoka's people.
Yes.
But then between that and the Filoni movie, I think you have to have season 2, right? Because there's a lot of open-ended shit in play for Ahsoka. So I would think you would have to wedge it in between those 2 movies, and then it just becomes a question of, when does the Filoni movie come out? Is it later that year, or is it the following year? Because they've got these windows or these time slots that they've thrown out for when these movies are going to come out.
Well, yeah, and I think that we're probably 2 years away from the movie from Filoni.
I would think so.
So we'll have a second season of Ahsoka. I think most of that's going to take place in the new far, far away galaxy. Probably it'll end with them coming back into the galaxy, and then picking up with whatever the hell's going on with the Mandalorian world. And that'll take us into the movie, right? The second movie.
Yeah, that could be. And I was thinking, you could see Ahsoka maybe, so do you put it, I guess it doesn't matter if they're separate. It doesn't matter if it comes before or after the Mando movie. The Ahsoka season 2.
Ahsoka?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't think
because
it
they're
does.
technically separate storylines at the moment. So you could do it whenever. Because I could see them putting it into production later this year, perhaps, maybe in the fall or something, and it coming out fall of 25 or something like that,
Right.
maybe, or maybe early 26. They would still have some time there.
Now, do they do a time jump
With Ahsoka?
or just like with all of it? Like is this going to be a few years later by the time Ahsoka gets back?
Yeah, that's a good question because it's something I can't remember which I listened to. It might have been Rose podcast. We're talking about how all this stuff leads all the way up to the sequels.
Right.
So at what point are we going to get to that point? Like how far are they going to take it? How close are they going to get to The Force Awakens in these shows?
Where are we at right now? We're like Kylo's what, a toddler, a little older than a toddler? Was he 7 years old?
He's probably like, he's probably, right. He's probably about that. Because I think Mando started in 9 ABY, and I think they said maybe by now it's more like 11, 12-ish, somewhere in there. So yeah, he's probably about that because he would have been born shortly after Return of the Jedi. So he's probably like 6, 7, something like that. But yeah, I mean, and we still, we've talked about Book of Boba Fett. Would it ever have a season 2? Don't know about that. Skeleton Crew, if it goes well, will it have a season 2? That ties into the Mandoverse directly. So I don't know. Well, I'm just, there's a lot of pieces in play, and I'm in thinking about how they're going to break up the stories, and then have them all come together and do it in a timeline that works for the production schedule. It's almost like making my head spin.
Well, who's the villain?
Good point, because we are assuming it's Thrawn.
Is one of the villains.
Is one of the villains.
Yeah.
Gideon, we're assuming, is dead, but of course they left it to a point where, he could have survived. At what point so you're right, because Kylo doesn't rise till later.
Right.
When he's, late teens or whatever.
Am I fucking having a mental breakdown?
What?
Who the hell is Gideon?
Moff Gideon, the guy from...
Okay. You got to give me the whole name. I'm like... complete brain fart, like Gideon. Who the hell is Gideon?
When you said that, I was like, what's he going to say next? I was curious what was happening.
Nope, that was real.
Are we doing a podcast? What is this?
Oh my God.
Who are
There's
you?
something wrong with me. I'm telling you right now.
I don't know
who you
are.
I'm going to have to give this up.
You're just like, I don't know who you are. Why are you on my screen? Oh, fuck, that's funny.
Man.
Well, let's talk about the Rey film too, because that also, I think, plays into the whole kind of production timeline.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, obviously, it would be bumped back from the original thought that it was going to be the May 2026 film.
Which in one of the articles I was reading, it was never confirmed that movie was the first one.
It never was, but Daisy Ridley talked about it like she thought it was going to be, and all signs kind of pointed to it because there was nothing else really in play, and Filoni's movie seemed further away.
Yeah.
And we thought the script was close.
Right.
And because Kennedy told Stephen Knight, like, hey, go finish the script
in a hotel room.
By mid-May, and then they had the writer's strike. So that got put on hold. They come back from the writer's strike, and you're thinking, well, one, we were joking, like, he was working on it during the strike. Let's be real. And two, you think, okay, well, once they come back from that, they're going to, and when did the writer's strike end? Back in, like, what was that?
October?
Like October, yeah. So zero word on what's going on with that. And
the writer's strike was a little earlier. It was the actor's strike, right? That lasted longer.
The writer's strike was shorter and started earlier. It started the beginning of May. And I think you're right. I think it ended in October, and the actors' strike didn't end until December. Is that right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So there's been a window here where he could have completed the script, but there's been no word of it being done. And I know that isn't he working on like a Peaky Blinders movie or something like that as well? So maybe that's taking priority. So now the speculation is like, is he even on the fucking project anymore?
Right.
Who's writing the script?
But what's really weird is like, I'm wondering what the conversation was with Damon Lindelof, where like he refused to do a rewrite. I mean, I can't imagine the script that he turned in was so far off of what was pitched or decided on between him and Kennedy and whoever else was in the room at the time, right?
Yeah.
So like, and like we knew like a year before the movie was announced that he was seen in like the commissary or whatever, and people were guessing he was working on something. So like he'd been working on the script for a while,
right?
And usually you turn pages in, like how are we going?
Yeah.
Like the fact that like he walked away from it, I'm really curious what it was that took him away from that.
It makes you wonder how that negotiation works, because I could easily see if you were a creative person who felt like you had this great idea And then the studios keeps telling you like, no, you got to do this. You got to do that. This person's going to direct. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. You might just be like, you know what? Fuck you. I don't want to deal with this. I want to go make something I want to make.
That's true, because he was on it before the director was attached.
Right.
You know, once the director was attached, you know, they're going to have their own ideas or want to take something. And then maybe that was where he's like, no, you know, get someone else to rewrite then. But the fact that like we couldn't, one of the articles says was Stephen Knight was the one, they couldn't find anyone and he was the one that was willing to take it on.
Yes.
Well, you don't find a screenwriter that's willing to take it on and know they have a project coming up and there's no wiggle room. You either fucking attack this project or I don't see Kennedy being like, we'll wait until after your movie.
Well, that's true. And I think probably from their perspective at the time, they thought, well, he can get this done before he needs to move on to his other project. And now
and
that strike took that all away.
Right.
So then maybe he got done with that and went, you know what? This is my passion project here. This is my, you know, bread and butter. I'm going back to this. So I don't know if I have time to finish this script.
Oh, and you got heat on Cillian Murphy right now. And like, why wouldn't you go into that movie next? Also, isn't I know Tom Hardy is in Peaky Blinders, but I don't know for how long. I never actually watched the show.
I haven't watched the show either. I've heard it's great, but I haven't watched it.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know.
So you've got two like mega movie stars that you're going to go into on this movie. And, you know, in Knight's eyes, Star Wars is kind of in a wreck right now.
It's secondary to him. And I mean, I think, you know, everybody pays attention to this shit. They see how many writers come and go. And it's not that it's uncommon. It's not like it's only, you know, Lucasfilm and Disney that this happens to, of course.
Right.
But it gets
the magnifying glass
highly publicized. And so I'm sure there's a lot of filmmakers who, you know, they come in. That's probably why Taika the whole time has just been like, look, don't fuck with my shit. Like, I'm going to do my thing. And if you guys are going to press me, I'm out. And they're probably like, okay, we'll give you some wiggle room. But maybe with other ones, they don't. They're too careful about it. And so then they kind of smother them to death. Well, that's possible.
I think it's like,
or they have bad ideas and they're like, no, this is terrible. That's true.
I just think they're to the point right now is like, we've got to, I don't know where the money is coming from for Lucasfilm. Like, is Disney just like there's a budget, right? But like, where's the return investment coming at, you know? And if they're putting something in a theater, you see the return investment, millions of dollars are coming back to them, right?
Right.
So I figure like, and it's time to get Star Wars back in theaters.
Fuck
so
yeah,
now I think now it's a rush, and they keep having to move their release dates and all this shit. So, and we talked about this before, like when they made this announcement with Favreau, maybe that was always in the works. We just didn't know it, but they seem to be having, there's like multiple in the fire, you know, forks in the fire.
Irons in the fire.
Irons in the fire, right? Like, and we just don't know it, but this stuff isn't just happening like on a whim.
Well, it's funny to think about, you know, the gap between Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace was what? It was like 16 years?
83 to 99?
Yep. The
Right.
gap from Revenge of the Sith to Force Awakens was 10 years, which is hard to believe it was only 10 years.
I know.
Well, now we're looking at 7 years. It's going to be 19 to 2026. I'm just saying they're losing like some cinematic momentum here. And I know we had the shutdown and everything changed and the whole movie industry changed and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, like there's a huge gap here where you haven't put out a film. That's kind of,
right.
I don't know. That doesn't seem like a good thing.
Yeah, it's crazy over there.
Yeah. So anyway, well, we will see. But yeah, I would think that if you want to make a movie for Rey, probably the first thing you're going to need is a script. So we'll see what happens with that.
I find it hard to believe they can't find a screenwriter that wants to tackle this shit.
It seems like it would be something that a lot of people would be interested in.
Yeah.
It's our turn. This is our opportunity.
Fuck, we're wide open.
Jay's got some time on his hands. He'll squeeze out a script for you. Just make a little treatment and let's send it in. Let's see what they say.
All right, let's do it.
No, we're too busy with the From a Certain Point of Askew book series.
Well, that's what's going to seal the deal. When they listen to that episode in February, they'll be like, wow, these guys got a little something going on.
It would be funny if they came to us and said, yeah, we want you to write the script. And you're like, well, hold on. We got more books. We got more stories to write here. And then we'll come to you.
Yeah.
We'll let you
we're
know.
busy right now with our passion project.
We need an agent. All right. You mentioned earlier the Benioff Weiss. I think is it Benioff? Weiss, whatever.
Let's go French and German. Benioff.
The guys who made Game of Thrones. So they shared some funny bits about their pitch for the Star Wars film back in the day that they were trying to do, which was like 10 years ago now, wasn't it? Or not, maybe not 10, Maybe it was like, oh no, I'm mixing it up with what's his face. This was like
it was around
6 years.
It was
ago.
around the time that Ryan Johnson was going to do his own trilogy too, right? Because it was in the news that they both were hired to do like their own movies.
Right, and so it came out that their movie was going to be called The First Jedi, which is funny considering Ryan Johnson's. And the quote was, it was about how the Jedi Order came to be, the first lightsaber, etc. But Lucasfilm didn't like the idea, or at least didn't like their script. Wasn't it even announced, right, that they were going to be working on these? Like they announced that they were. Yeah,
it was announced that it was going to be like a whole trilogy.
Yeah,
and it was going to take place like in its own era.
Right. And it sounds like either Kennedy didn't like, or the powers that be didn't like the script they turned in, or she was like, "What's this deal you got with Netflix? That's going to get in the way of our shit.
Yes.
Fuck you guys." And I think that could have been what it was.
Yeah, because wasn't it they were willing to come on and write the first film and have the treatment story for the trilogy, but they weren't sure if they were going to do the whole thing.
Oh, is that what it was? I didn't hear that.
It might have been something like that, because I think the Netflix thing, and also was this before, it's so long ago now, I can't remember if this was announced during the last season of Game of Thrones.
I think it would have been right around that time. I think it was just before the last season.
I think so, because Kennedy's real good at hiring these people. And then, Josh Trank's fucking Fantastic Four. He was hired for Boba Fett. Fantastic Four comes out, gets just a shit.
And they're like, yeah,
reviews,
never mind.
And she fires. Yeah. So she's always ahead of the game and then regrets it and fires them instead of you know what?
Because the last season of Game of Thrones was not well received, right?
Right.
Yeah. So.
Which I didn't think it was absolutely terrible, but it could have used another episode or two probably.
Okay. Well, and then of course the other thing is, it makes you wonder too if it was does Kennedy go, okay, you know what? Screw you guys. Hey, get James Mangold on the line. Hey, James, I got an idea for you. Because it sounds like the same movie.
We keep seeing these writer directors coming in, and then when they're dropped, it's picked back up later by someone else. And the idea, the kernel is always there. It's even like when they were doing trying to do fucking Superman back in the day. I mean, J.J. Abrams had a script. They took ideas from that when ended up going into the X-Men director, his movie, right? Superman Returns.
Oh, okay.
There were ideas from that, and then when you see Zack Snyder's, there was a few things that were pulled from. You hear things, so they hold on to all of this stuff, and I imagine they've got some big freaking rooms filled with art and board ideas that they want to do. So then it just comes in how are they going to tell the story when they hire the creatives?
Right. I'm sure they have certain storylines that they would like to pursue, and now you've got Filoni kind of managing the overarching story and everything.
Right.
And then of course you've also got people just coming in and going, hey, what about this for Star Wars? And then they try to figure out if that fits with everything. So you got, I think you got both. I think you got some storylines that are we want to make these, we know, we just need to find the filmmakers, and then there's other ones that come in that are like, oh, you know what, this could fit here. Yeah, it just made me laugh about the plot of this story and then the James Mangold thing. Because, Kathy was like, what are you going to call it? You can't call it The First Jedi, okay? He's like, what about the Dawn of the Jedi? You got it. Well, let's do that.
There you go.
That's perfect. Yeah. Well, so that's a lot of movie news. A lot of fun, wild shit going on. So we'll see how it all shakes out. One last bit that I saw, since we're getting fuck all on the Bad Batch front. Did you see Jennifer Corbett's tweet where she's like, you guys really want that Bad Batch trailer, huh? Yes, we do.
I think they're waiting. We were talking about that, you and I, over DMs, and then I saw yesterday, what's the animated one that you refused to watch?
The Young Jedi Adventures.
Yeah, so I think they're plugging away at that until, what's that release in February?
When I saw that come out, I was like, shit, we're not going to get Bad Batch till March now.
Right.
At best.
And then, because it seems to they only, for whatever reason, because there's two people in marketing apparently, they can only market one project at a time.
I don't know if it's just because they figure if they have two things at once, they're missing out on the opportunity to keep those subscriptions going by having new stuff. And I get that. But at the same time, you overlapped Bad Batch with Mandalorian. Or was it Bad Batch with Mandalorian? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't like that. But regardless, we are, kind of in other animated news, there's this new rumor that there might be other Tales of the Jedi series that we liked.
Yeah.
And the rumor was Tales of the Sith or Tales of the Bounty Hunters, which I think would just be fantastic. I like the idea of kind of doing these anthology animated series. Those are kind of a fun way to
I do too.
Get more Star Wars. But it does also leave me wondering, what's the next full-on series going to be? Or are we just putting all our eggs in the live-action basket? Because after Bad Batch is over, there's nothing that we've heard a sniff of beyond that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it also made me think, like, what would you want to see? Because I think there's, and don't say Resistance Season 3.
I would never say it.
You could do like a High Republic kind of series. You could do, I don't know. I'm just trying to think, because we really haven't seen a ton, although the High Republic stuff, is that the Young Jedi Adventures? Is that some High Republic stuff? I don't even know. I don't even know what's in that series.
Yeah.
Is it High Republic?
I mean, look at Yoda's much younger in there, so it's quite a bit ago. And there's the one shot they released where they're all holding up their colorful lightsabers, and it looks just like the cover to one of the High Republic books.
One that was. Yeah. So maybe that, I guess, because I was thinking the only thing we've really seen High Republic in is I did finally start playing Jedi Survivor.
Okay.
And there's a bit of High Republic mixed in there, you know. But other than that, we haven't really seen it other than the books. And I'm assuming they want to keep that going because they've got all these freaking books out that people have been enjoying. So I don't know. I thought it would be cool to do like Tales of the Bounty Hunters would be fucking great. Give me some Embo.
Yeah, get some. What's that?
Give me some Embo, the guy that fucking flings his hat. You know, the guy that like can use it as a slide on the mountain, and
right?
Fling it at you and shit. I love Embo. But there's a lot of bounty hunters you could do. You know, you could mess with.
You could get some Boba Fett stories.
You could.
You know, some rough and tough, violent ones.
The Sith too would make sense.
Yes.
But I do like kind of doing bounty hunters and having it be a little bit something else, kind of a different type of storyline. That'd be fun. So yeah, just keep it coming. Keep it coming. We're in a little bit of a lull here, and I'm not liking it. All right, that was it for news. So we don't, since we didn't have like a huge main topic this time, we decided we'd do like a couple kind of fun topics. And first up was the Ben Solo thing. So Adam Driver had been doing interviews over the past like month or so promoting his new movie Ferrari. He looks insane in that trailer.
It looks really good. And like Penelope Cruz looks like she just, the one thing I'm noticing is everyone's talking about her performance, but she's not getting like any nominations or anything. But everyone's saying she's like killing it in that movie.
Huh. That's too bad. I'm excited to see that movie. And I love Adam Driver. I think he's great. He was, of course, Star Wars comes up. He gets asked about it. And, he's everything he said is like, I'm not involved in anything in the future, at this point, which I'm not totally surprised. I could see him staying away from that for a while. But there's a chance he's going to come back around, especially in that.
He's just a better liar than Andrew Garfield.
That's probably true. Yeah, Andrew Garfield's terrible. Or didn't Tom Holland always fuck it up too?
Well, yeah. Andrew Garfield actually lied pretty good. It was the fact that he got caught ordering like Uber Eats or something. He was in Atlanta on the set of Spider-Man or some shit.
Oopsie.
Oh, man.
The Uber Eats driver got him.
Yep.
So then he was, when he's asked about this, he was talking about the arc of the character that was so I'll read the quote. He said, I had an overall arc in mind that J.J. Abrams wanted to do. His idea was that Kylo's journey was the opposite journey of Vader, where Vader starts the most confident and most committed to the dark side, and then by the last movie, he's the most vulnerable and weak. He wanted to start with the opposite. This character was the most confused and vulnerable, and by the end of the trilogy, he would be the most committed to the dark side. I tried to keep that arc in mind regardless if that wound up not being the journey anyway, because it changed while shooting, but I was still focused on that.
Okay.
So he was, and I kind of like that idea of doing it kind of in reverse, essentially. Because, when you first see him, he's kind of a mess. Like, he's fighting off the light side as best he can.
Right.
Yes, very conflicted. And just, kind of seems slightly in over his head. So it would be cool to see him just grow in power. Of course, by, Last Jedi or whatever, he's now become the Supreme Commander because he kills Snoke and all that stuff. But at the same time,
right.
I don't know. The other quote he said, as he went on to say this, was, with Ryan, he took it in a different direction, but it still tracked with the character. And then the last one, it changed into being, about them and the dyad and things like that, and evolving into Ben Solo. That was never part of it. He was Ben Solo from the beginning, but there was never a version where we'd see Ben Solo when I first signed up for it. React.
I think a lot. When you've got different writers and different things coming through, but also like the audience, at some point when the way they react to characters.
Sure.
And he was like a beloved character, right? And the whole will they, won't they, Rilo or whatever the hell they call it.
Raylo, yeah.
When you bring in Palps, you have your villain. So how do you continue Kylo Ren on that streak of becoming the ultimate villain, you know, because he would end up just becoming Vader in a sense, because he would just be Palpatine's apprentice. Or does he kill Palpatine and take over? And is that the ending? That's not the ending you're going to get in an Americanized movie, right? Where the villain triumphs over good. The whole point of these movies are always to...
It's always about the redemption. I get that.
Yes.
And I think it made a lot of sense in the original trilogy, especially because that was kind of, Luke Skywalker's great achievement was the redemption of his father and all that kind of thing. But I don't know. There's a part of me that just thinks, you know what? These people are really fucking terrible people. Anakin was a war criminal before he became Darth. Then he was even worse. Right. And then on his deathbed, he's like, sorry. And we're like, yeah, well, he did good things.
We love you, Anakin.
He built roads. No, I'm just kidding. But but with Kylo, horrible person. Like, did awful, awful stuff. Killed his father. Like, all these things happened.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's okay to just be like, you know what? He's just a fucking evil, evil dude. Don't you think there's a chance that they might go that route? I know Star Wars wants to have these positive notes in the end, and they want people to be able to turn it around and overcome these things. And yes, they were tempted by these evils, but they still in the end made the right decision. But I mean, these are pretty bad people. So I don't know. I think it would have been very interesting to see it the other way.
I agree.
The other thing is too, like, it's talked about a lot, the whole like balance thing. Mm-hmm. So when Palps dies and he turns into Ben and dies, what do we got now? All we got is light side.
Yeah, that's it right now.
So we're like tilted in the wrong direction, or whichever direction, it's off balance.
Well, does Finn, is he become the villain then?
Oh boy, now that would be a twist.
The dark side take him over?
That would be a twist.
Right.
Holy shit.
He was feeling the Force, and then they killed Ben, and now he's conflicted.
Could you imagine if he turned into the bad guy?
And then it's all because she wouldn't stop running for 2 fucking seconds and just let him spill the beans.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
You wouldn't listen to me.
He's a little jilted.
Yep.
He's like, you should have ended up with me, not him.
Yeah.
So fuck you. I'm going to destroy the world. I mean, shit, he worked for them before.
And now I'm in a polyamorous relationship with fucking Poe and what's her face? Kerry Russell's character.
Oh God, Zori.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Oh,
and he's always off running around, so he's alone.
Yeah, I just, like you said, I don't think that they would ever go the route to have him stay or even become more and more evil. I just thought, wow, that would be intriguing if you had his character not be redeemed and go the other direction and just stay that way, even if he dies, just to be evil all the way to the end.
I think they need to create a Dark Force user that becomes the villain and goes that route, but like sticks around for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the reason Vader stuck around so long was just because it took forever to make the movies. Right. You got like a whole generation where it's just that. But, you have within 6 years, you have the sequel trilogy and they're all dead. And there's one left, so.
Well, yeah, it's like the joke of, well, I mean, of course they bring him back, but like you get this cool character of Maul dead.
Right.
Granted, they bring him back. And there's still stuff you could do with him, but of course we know his eventual fate. And
there's still so many people that had no idea that he was even brought back.
Of course.
They see him in Solo and they're like, well, how's he alive?
Who the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. You had Snoke for a minute, and then that was gone. I mean, it's just, I don't know. You're right. I think you need a long-term villain. And maybe that's what Thrawn's being set up to be, at least for the Mandoverse era, that he's going to be the guy for a long time.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I think Thrawn is obviously a villain character, but he's not I'm not gonna try to take the shine off his bad doings, but I don't think he's driven to the evil side as what like these characters are.
Right, I agree. I don't think he thinks he's doing the right for the Empire, right? Or at least that's what we're led to believe right now.
I think so, and I don't think it's like it's not like he's drawn to this. It's because he's not a Force user or whatever. He's not drawn to the dark side or something like that. He's just literally like, this is how the fucking place should be run.
Right, yeah. So he's going to be pulling the strings. But we need that badass villain that's out there shooting people and taking names.
So maybe Ezra should have been Marok or whatever that. We should have just gone from there. I don't know. I'm just real... They're going to come up with something, because when you get to this Rey movie, there's got to be something evil out there, and it ain't going to be Thrawn at that point. So, who's it going to be and what dark... It's got to be a Dark Force user. You've got to have the balance. So I'm just...
Well, let's not count out Shin and Balin. We're not quite sure what they're up to yet.
True. Yeah, that's a whole nother ball of wax. I'm not sure what to make of that.
Right.
Hence the reason we need season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't have anything else to say on that. I just thought interesting comments by him that he was given this direction from the start, and then everything kind of changed. But I don't think it's totally unusual. I mean, they've talked about how like Daisy Ridley thought her character was going to be a bunch of different things tied to Kenobi at first. Then it changed, and then like it kept bouncing around. So it definitely seemed like they were making it up as they went along.
If there's any Kylo Ren involvement, it's going to be something where he's going to need to be on set for like 3 days anyways. He's dead.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's like 4, they can shoot that at any time. No one's going to know about it. And why would he have to know about it now?
True.
Yeah. Once the script's done, they go to the agents, be like, all right, offer him $5 million. Tell him to come on over to Pinewood for a few days.
Right. I would be surprised if we don't see him again, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the other topic we were going to do for fun was there was this story last month, I believe, where Charlie Hunnam came out and said that he was very close to playing Anakin Skywalker in Attack of the Clones. By the way, the first time I thought that I saw Charlie Hunnam was in Green Street Hooligans. But what I did not realize until going back and looking at his resume there is that he was the guy, he was the like albino-ish guy in Cold Mountain. I totally forgot because I don't think I knew who he was then when I watched Cold Mountain. Remember Cold Mountain with Jude Law?
Nicole Kidman and Jude Law?
Yes.
I've never seen that.
Oh, you've never seen it? Okay. It's like obviously Civil War era film. And he's like kind of the slick young guy, bad character. And at the time I remember being like, this guy's a kind of a creep. That's Charlie Hunnam. I had no idea that was him until because 2 years later I see him in Green Street Hooligans and I saw him and stuff from there. But I had no idea that because that was kind of like his first major film, I think.
That's a good movie, Green Street Hooligans. That was one of those movies when we were doing 7 Days a Geek. It was the weekly watch party.
Oh, was it?
I can't remember which one of the guys picked that movie. And I've known about it for years, but it was just like, But I really enjoyed that movie.
It's good. They force feed you some of the stuff a little bit, but it's entertaining. I mean, it's entertaining. And I mean, watching Elijah Wood try to be like kind of this badass fighter, you're like, yay.
Yeah. It's like kind of like Gangster Fight Club for soccer for players.
Yeah.
Yes, I called it soccer.
It's got a cool soundtrack. It's good. Yeah. It's fun. It's a fun watch. I need to watch it again. And he's very good in it. Anyway, this comment got me thinking about kind of that near casting, almost cast characters. And so I thought, we might do this for the other trilogies eventually, but we thought let's look at the prequels and just see who might have been cast in some of these roles. And so I know you have a list. We could start with the Phantom Menace and start with young Anakin, which I was not aware of any other casting options there, but of course they had a ton of kids come in. But I guess that Michael Angarano guy, is that how you say his name?
Yes.
He was one who was like down to the wire. And in fact, I guess Lucas thought he was like the better actor of the two, but just didn't fit the role right for some reason.
Jake Lloyd was a cute kid. And I think, wasn't Jake Lloyd like pulled from, like Lucas watched, what's the Jingle All the Way, right?
Is that what he's in? Jake Lloyd's in Jingle All the Way?
I think he's the kid in that, right?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
I thought he was.
I just know that his career just obviously went through hard times after that. And so it did not go well. Whereas Michael Angarano, maybe is how I'm saying his name correctly, he went on to do a bunch of shit.
I looked him up because I know his name and I'm pretty sure he was in, was it Red State? He was one of the 3 guys at the beginning.
Right. I think that's right.
And I knew him from that because I'm such a huge Kevin Smith fan, and I've seen him around since then. And there was it Sky High he was in?
He's in a lot of TV.
There's a few things, but man, that boy has been acting his ass off.
Yeah, he's been everywhere. He was just in Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Right, I saw that. I haven't seen Oppenheimer, but I saw him when I was looking him up.
That could have worked. The other one that they said that they threw out there who was in the mix at one point, or at least who auditioned, was Haley Joel Osment.
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
That was the big name. That could have worked.
He was good as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, poor Jake Lloyd. Things didn't go well for Jake Lloyd after that. So you're still looking.
It was Jake Lloyd that was in Jingle All the Way, and I'm pretty sure that him being a cute little kid is what nailed it. And like Haley Joel Osment was, what was that, 99? So that was the same year. Was it 99? Was
Sixth Sense?
Yeah,
it could have been around that time. He would have done well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Padme, Natalie Portman, which I think in the end is a good casting choice, but Vanette Robinson.
Does that one sit all right with you?
Yeah, that sits all right with me. Even though she was kind of given some pretty shit lines and it made it look bad, and her chemistry with Hayden was a little rough at times.
Right.
You know, I think it was a good casting choice in the end. But Vinette Robinson apparently was up. She's a British actress, and you know you can never go wrong casting Brits in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. And I do not recognize the name, but once I looked her up, I was like, oh, I've seen her in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, like Black Mirror and Doctor Who and shit. She's been in a bunch of stuff, and she did end up in Star Wars. She was an X-wing pilot in Rise of Skywalker. Very, very small role, but yeah. So that was the other one that came up. Obi-Wan. I mean,
hold on, I got Rachel Lee Cook.
Oh, I didn't have Rachel Lee Cook.
Yeah,
wow.
She's like that lookalike version of if they couldn't get Natalie Portman. You know, after she's all that. I'm making this up.
I thought that was a good one.
I was gonna run with the story, but I see you're like already hooked.
I thought you were gonna say, well, I mean, Keira Knightley obviously did end up playing in it, but she could have easily played that role too.
Yeah, I'm wondering. Like, I didn't have time to look it up, but I'm curious if Keira Knightley had tried out for the Padme, and then she looked so much like her.
Yeah, they were saying like even like the people were having trouble telling them apart at one point, which I mean worked for the role in the movie and how it worked out. But yeah, that would make sense. So then Obi-Wan, I mean, it had to be Ewan, right?
Oh yeah.
But apparently Joseph Fiennes was right there in the mix. There was this funny story. There's this funny story he tells. You probably heard this.
Yes.
Where it's basically down to him and Ewan, who are friends, by the way. They're like at the same acting company or something.
Yep.
And yeah, he gets introduced to George Lucas's daughter, who's like 5 years old at the time. And he's like, this might be Obi-Wan. And she's like, this guy's weird. I don't like him.
Isn't he like goofy looking or something?
No,
how's like your career can go, you know, you're at the fork in the road and it's a 5-year-old that decides.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Oh, that is awesome. What a great story. I didn't have any others for Obi-Wan. Qui-Gon. Okay, I don't know how legit these are, but obviously Liam Neeson was great.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a number of them thrown out in this article I saw. Tom Hanks. Whoa.
I mean, I feel like these are like who are well-known actors that can anchor this film and only has to be attached to this one film. And there was a bunch of people on a list. But
I think so.
I can't see Tom Hanks like at Lucasfilm with the robe on doing a makeup test as Qui-Gon Jinn. I don't see it.
Morgan Freeman. I mean, he could have pulled it off.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell, which I thought, so he was nearly Han. You know, he was very much in the mix for Han, and I think actually would have been a pretty good, damn good Han.
Yeah, he's just as like charismatic, and I mean,
if not Harrison
another
Ford.
actor that actually, you know, I was thinking today, I was like, there's not an actor that's existed that is like Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
but Kurt Russell, man, can do it all.
I think so, and I think if it wasn't Harrison Ford, I think he was the guy.
Yeah,
I think that makes a lot of sense. But so yeah, he was almost Han. Then apparently on a list anyway for Qui-Gon. Mm-hmm. So I think we need to give Kurt Russell a role in Star Wars.
I agree.
I mean, it's time. Get him in there.
Are you watching Monarch? No?
No.
It's pretty good. They've done a really good job at like making a show exist on its own and also within like the Godzilla universe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he like Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell, they play the same character. So his son's playing him, and boy, do they I never realized how much Wyatt Russell
and all that.
Yeah, and even the voice, their cadence, everything. But yeah, it's good seeing Kurt Russell in something again.
He's always great.
Yeah.
I did. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, Overboard was on the other day, so I watched part of it.
I love that movie.
Great movie. Darth Maul. We have obviously Ray Park ends up playing him, but of course, very storied. You know, or
Benicio
whatever.
del Toro.
Benicio del Toro, and how he literally was like cast. Was doing the role, and then all of a sudden the role just started getting cut down, and lines started going away, and the next thing you know, he's like, you know what, I think I'm out on this one.
Did he actually shoot anything?
I don't know if he shot anything. I think he was just cast, and they were going to go to production, and he saw how the script had changed.
Yeah.
And I think he was like, well, I'm barely in this.
That's surprised. Like, I guess he was known enough, at least to people who watched enough movies would know who Benicio del Toro was in 99, I guess. But this was... I don't even think Usual Suspects had been. Well, maybe it was out by then.
Oh, Usual
right?
Suspects was definitely out by then.
That was like
early
96
or mid 90s,
95, 96. Yeah,
because Reservoir Dogs was what, like 92. So Usual Suspects had to be like 94, right? 95.
Okay,
somewhere in there. I'd assume they'd be using a stuntman for a lot of these actions that Ray Park just did. You know?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, or was Ray Park just going to be the stuntman and end up just going into the role and throwing makeup on him, and then they get Peter Safwitz
right to do the voice. Yeah, could be. And then of course Benicio del Toro goes on to play one of the most like wasted roles in Star Wars. We were like, God damn it, they brought him in. That's what we got. Come on. Jar Jar Binks. Now this one is bananas, and I had never heard this story before. Had you heard this story?
No, I've heard this one.
Oh, I had never
Michael
heard
Jackson?
this one. Yes. So Ahmed
Yes.
Best gets the role, but Michael Jackson apparently wanted to do it, but wanted to do it like
In makeup.
Yeah, in makeup, like practical effects. And George is like, no, you don't understand. This entire thing is going to be CGI. Like as much as humanly possible will be CGI. I'm filming it in my garage. Yeah. Wow. How wild would that have been? I mean, talk about.
Well, in the story that they're at his concert and George Lucas introduces Ahmad as Jar Jar Binks, and Michael Jackson's like,
okay,
but I thought that was my role.
Oh, I thought he was just like, oh, okay. Like I thought he was like, no, we're gonna go like that, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah.
Oh man, and I think it wasn't like Natalie Portman
wasn't
with
Lucas involved in Captain EO?
him.
Is that how he has the relationship with Michael Jackson?
Maybe, I don't know.
Because that was like one of the biggest things at Epcot for years.
Could have been then, maybe. Yeah, I don't know that, but that's a good point. I just can't. I mean, I just can't imagine Michael Jackson being that in that movie.
I mean, his one scene in Men in Black was enough.
Yeah, right. So, and then Mace Windu, Samuel L. Jackson. I had not heard this one either. So many of these I had not heard. You would think we're aware of all these ones, but Tupac, did you hear this one?
That sounds familiar, actually.
Yeah.
Now that you're saying that.
Apparently, he was thrown around as an option.
But this was before. This is
early.
Sam Jackson was on the talk show and said, "I want to be in Star
Correct.
Wars."
This is early days because he got murdered in 1996. The movie didn't come out till 99.
Okay.
So this is very early days. I mean, I'm sure people hear that and think, Tupac, I can't imagine
He's
that.
a good actor.
He's a good
Or
actor.
was. Yeah.
So, I mean, I could see him do it. The only thing is, I think that Mace is portrayed, and maybe it would have been different, but Mace is portrayed as just this more like calm, kind of subdued Jedi character. And that's just not who Tupac typically played. He played a much more, volatile characters. And,
Yes. Ready to explode.
yeah, right. So I think it would have been a little different. But yeah, I had not heard that one, Tupac. Did you have any others, like people we got introduced to in Phantom Menace? I was going to move on to Attack of the Clones.
No, go ahead. Attack of the Clones.
So Attack of the Clones, this is the big one, Anakin. Obviously, Hayden gets it. We mentioned Charlie Hunnam.
Do you remember, did you follow, not even Star Wars, but you know me, I love the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
So the internet was just on fire with who's who. And if you were within the age of what, I don't know, 18 to 29.
Yes, right.
And you were an actor, you had tried out for this role. There were names that were attached to this, and everybody, I mean, this one of the most sought after roles in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And if Leonardo DiCaprio wanted it, he would have had it.
God, I know. What would that have been like? Leo DiCaprio.
I really think that he would have knocked it out of the park. It would have been different.
It would have been very different.
Yeah.
But I think it would have, and this is not a slight on Hayden. I think it would have been a little bit more of a mature role. Even though he's meant to be this kind of petulant child.
Yes.
I think the way Leo's style is, I think it would have been different in that regard.
But he was already such a seasoned actor, where
Right.
Hayden Christensen came from. What was it? It was some ABC Family show that he was on, that he was doing when he was finally cast.
Yeah, because he did that Life as a House movie, but I think that was after.
I really like that movie. Yeah, I think that was after, or maybe he shot before, but it came out after. I don't remember. But
yeah,
I think Hayden grew into the role. I don't think DiCaprio would have had a hard time being in the Attack of the Clones immediately. He would have found Anakin.
Yeah.
And his pushback against Lucas might have been, would have stood a little bit more.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Because that's the thing. That's what most people say about the Hayden. The issues with Hayden and his acting is that he was kind of hamstrung by the script.
Right.
And I think also didn't feel like he had the footing to push back on what Lucas wanted to do at all.
I'm trying to think, is DiCaprio and Natalie Portman, I don't think they've ever shared the screen, have they?
I can't think of.
I'd like to see those two do a movie together.
Yeah, that would be good. I can't think of them together.
Yeah.
So I think the chemistry with them would have been better. And like you said, he's a seasoned actor. I think he just would have been able to take it on a little bit better.
Right.
But then the other names are just wild. It's like Paul Walker.
Yep. He was close. He was I think the top 5 after DiCaprio was Walker, Joshua Jackson.
Yes.
And I think Joshua Jackson, I think even James Vanderbeek.
Yes.
Was in the running, but Joshua Jackson went further. Joshua Jackson, I think, was top 3 when it came down to it.
Damn.
Yeah, and I think Pacey fucking Witter, right, man? I mean, come on, Dawson's Creek all the way. You know I am. I want that multiverse movie.
Kristen Meyer would have been all over that.
Yeah,
I think he could have done it. I think it would have been closer to the Hayden performance than the Leo performance. Do you know what I mean? Like the Joshua Jackson.
Yeah, I agree.
That kind of that almost that like stomp your foot mad kind of thing. I like Joshua Jackson. I'm just saying I think it would have been a little bit closer.
He's grown into like a really damn good actor. Like he was good. What was the one that was just out? The Glenn Close affair movie.
He redid Fatal Instinct or not Fatal Instinct.
Okay. Fatal Attraction.
Fatal Attraction.
Yeah, he was good in that. He was good in Dr. Death. Did you watch that on Peacock?
I did not. But I just realized I mixed Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
Basic Attraction.
You know what? That's a movie I'm going to write. Fatal Instinct.
It's good. It'll work. It could be like a USA movie.
USA Network.
Yeah. Chris Klein. Oh, that would have been a bad choice.
Oh, but he was. I mean, I could see why he was on the list. Because
he was
American
in that group.
Pie was huge.
I think that would have been a disaster. No offense.
Boy, they tried making him like the It Boy actor too. He was in that? He was in, what was the movie where it was a comedy, I think it was from the Farley brothers, whether they produced it. I don't think they directed it, but I remember the big scene was he punched a cow, but didn't hit it in the ass, and his arm got stuck in the ass, and then it starts walking down the street, and he's stuck with his, like, up to his wrist and ass. And it's got Heather Graham was like the love interest in it.
Oh, I don't remember this.
And then he did, what was the movie with him and not Joshua Jackson, him, Lily Sobieski, and he was in, God damn it, I just lost his name. He was in The Faculty, Josh Hartnett.
Oh, right.
And it was like this love triangle movie. I can't remember. Didn't like Jessica Simpson do like the the fucking like theme song to the movie? Like these are movies like I don't even know if they ever hit DVD.
Well, and he was in Election.
Yes.
That was another big one that he was in.
Right, and he was good in that.
Yeah.
And then he's the worst review ever on Chris Klein's career. And I had Justin Marks on 7 Days a Geek years ago. And Justin Marks, who ended up writing the first draft of Top Gun Maverick, he wrote the Jungle Book live action movie. He had a TV show that had J.K. Simmons in it. That was fucking amazing. Counterpart.
You pull these guys on your old show.
Yeah, I know. I got to do some work for us. But I was talking to him because I knew Justin Marks wrote the script for Street Fighter. And the movie got like the worst review on Ain't It Cool News by, I think was it Massaworm that wrote it at the time, who's now a screenwriter. Oh, no. And he, you have to go find this fucking Chris Klein, like, because he plays like, I can't remember what character, but he was a cop. He was supposed to like this hard-edged cop. I've never seen the movie, but the review lives in my fucking head.
It's just so bad.
And he agreed. He goes, he wasn't wrong with this, like the review. I mean, because the movie, I think it was made during the writer's strike at the time back then. Yeah. So they couldn't change anything. So him and friends went to go see the movie in the theater, and Chris Klein was with his friends in the theater. Said it was just them that went to go see it. And then after that, like you didn't see Chris Klein in anything for years.
Ever. Yeah. For a long time. That just would have been a weird choice. I think it would have been, I don't know. I don't want to fault him, but it would have been even more wooden, I think.
I agree.
Topher Grace? No way.
Yeah.
No way. Topher Grace? Come on. Anakin?
I don't know if he was shortlisted, but I know he was on the list. Like I said, like anybody who's anybody was, in the running for this Anakin role.
Yeah, and I think he's too small. No offense to Topher. You kind of need a guy with a little bit of height, a little bit of size. Well,
I don't know. I think he's like 6 foot, isn't he?
Topher Grace, really?
Yeah, he's just kind of very lanky until, he's put a little meat on his bones now, but.
Topher Grace is 5'11", it says. I don't know, man. He looks small. Anyway, and then what was the other one? Christian Bale, they mentioned? Was he really in the loop? Because holy shit, Christian Bale would have destroyed that role.
So that's one of those, like, Lucas is like, yeah, I fucked up on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how serious it was and how far he got or whatever. I think he might have looked too old at that point to play him. I don't know, but
I think he was probably on the older side because
he was like 26, 27.
What year what's the name of the movie where he, hacks up Willem Dafoe?
American Psycho?
American Psycho. That was around that time, right?
Yeah, something like that.
It was a really young Christina Ricci, and it was after Fear, so it would have been late 90s.
Yeah, right. That's a good movie. God, his lines in that movie. I mean, he is just a fucking sociopath in that movie.
Yes. Did you see Misha Collins was? I never knew that. When I was looking things up, he played Castiel in Supernatural.
Mm-mm.
I guess he was down to. He was at Lucasfilm and taking a walk. Says he tells a story where he was walking, waiting for his go meet him, and he fell into a river. So he was like, when he goes and meets George Lucas, he's sopping wet.
How do you fall into a river?
I don't know, but I laughed so fucking hard when I was reading that yesterday. I was like, what?
Let me tell you about my worst interview ever.
Yes.
Fell in a river, stunk. Oh man, that's funny. Do you have any other ones for Hayden? Sorry, for Anakin, I mean?
No, those are the ones that I had on my list.
Okay.
Ryan Felipe.
Ryan Felipe.
I think he was short. It was him, Joshua Jackson, and probably, what was the other one? After
Paul
DiCaprio
Walker?
turned it down. Paul Walker, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I could see, Paul Walker's a little bit different. I could see Ryan Felipe, Joshua Jackson, Hayden. I think you could throw a blanket over those three. Like I think it would have ended up a roughly the same kind of
Yes, I agree.
You know, again, this is no slight.
I think that's
on
why
them.
it came down to them. They all have that like that same whatever Lucas was looking for. Those they
like I
had
said, it's the stomp your feet kind of attitude, and I think they all three have that vibe to them. Whereas Paul Walker, I don't think would have come across exactly that same way.
But Joshua Jackson has charisma.
He does.
You know, like he leaks that shit where the other ones are real stoic.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ryan Felipe is just pretty. That's what probably got him in play there. Whereas, and I think Hayden had his own charisma. He hadn't grown into himself yet. He just was young.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think he was confident in himself, or at least as confident in himself at that point. I did look up Count Dooku to see if they even tried to find anybody other than Christopher Lee because he was so fucking great in that role. Mm-hmm. And the only thing I found was that apparently he was going to be Tarkin in A New Hope. Did you know that?
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it was originally offered to him, and he didn't take it, and Peter Cushing did it.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
That is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's old as shit. Well, he's dead now, of course, but he was old as shit, so he easily would have been in the mix for that. That's all I have for Attack of the Clones. Then I was going to talk just real quickly about Revenge of the Sith, and a couple more characters, and then that was it. Unless you had anybody else from Attack of the Clones.
Well, Grievous is in Attack of the Clones, right?
No, he's not. We don't see him till Sith.
Is it really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so we see him in Sith, and that's ends up being Matthew Wood, but Gary Oldman.
Yep.
I mean, it's just the voice, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But Gary Oldman's always fucking good. I mean, he would have been great. But apparently he did a lot of the voice and then pulled out because of some sort of Actors Guild squabble.
Yes. It was the movie was being made without the guild or something.
Right.
And he didn't want to jump fences or be part, so he dropped out. Yeah.
Yeah, he would have been great. He's always good,
every time.
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman's one of those actors that like I find like he thinks he's a terrible actor and he always thinks he lucks out with these roles, but he's fucking amazing.
Yes. I mean, the one that people point to a lot is The Professional. Or Leon, whatever they call it now. Because it has two different titles. Which I fucking love that movie. It's so good.
You know, everyone loves The Fifth Element, and it's such a terrible movie, but it's so fun, and just his character.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman.
Well, and he's even, do you remember his role in, oh shit, I'm going to forget it now. Christian Slater. Oh my God. What is that movie called? Christian Slater. It's you know, it's where oh my God, I can't think of the damn name.
I'm so happy to have you doing this right now.
Fuck.
Who else is in it?
This is where I'm blanking. Balky is in it.
Belky Bartakamus and Christian Slater.
Yes, they're in, and Brad Pitt's in it for a second as a stoner, and Michael Rappaport's in it. And Dennis Hopper has that scene with Christopher Walken in it. What is that called? True Romance. Thank you.
Oh my God. I've never seen True Romance.
You've never seen True Romance?
No. It's like one
Holy
of the, it's
shit.
Just, I know.
You need to see that movie.
And that's written by Tarantino, right?
Yeah. You need to see that movie.
You know what? I'm going to watch it this weekend.
It's very entertaining. And when you watch it though, I'll talk to you about the ending because they changed something.
What's the one I always confuse them? Is Duchovny in that one?
No.
What's the movie where they're in the convertible and it's Patricia
Arquette?
You're
talking about is that not Natural Born Killers, but it's the one with oh fuck's sake. Brad Pitt's in it.
Yes.
And he's a lunatic, and what's her face is his like girlfriend.
Juliette Lewis and Patricia Arquette are in it, right? Or is Patricia Arquette in True Romance? God damn it, now I gotta look these
Patricia
up.
Arquette is True Romance.
Okay. See, I always confuse those movies. I've never seen either of them.
I can't remember who Duchovny's love interest is in that other. California is what that's called.
Yes, with a K.
With a K. Yes.
Yep. And then years later, he goes to do Californication.
I hope people are enjoying this.
I hope so, yeah.
Just off the rails.
I feel more home at like having these tangents.
Definitely watch True Romance. But yeah, there's two particular scenes in that movie that they changed. I saw that movie in the theater, and very vicious, especially one scene very vicious that they kind of toned down, and another scene they kind of changed it, I think, to alter how you saw a certain character at the end. And I will tell you what those are. And it's one of those things where I think, did I invent that? Do I think I saw it that way, but it wasn't that way? But I'm almost 100% sure that I'm right.
Okay.
We'll talk about it after you watch it. All right, back to Star Wars, because that's what we talk about here. So General Grievous, and then I think the only other one was Mon Mothma, Genevieve O'Reilly. Did you hear who that was going to be?
Nobody but her.
Cyndi Lauper. No, I'm just kidding. That was my Rachel Lee Cook response.
Okay.
She didn't even have a line, right? In the end?
I don't think she was in the movie. Didn't they? Or she's in a scene, right? But they cut the scene out where they have the meeting. Who is it? It's Mace, her, and was it Yoda?
Maybe Bale was there?
Or Bale. Yes. Yep.
I think Bale was there.
You know,
it's
fucking
Bale.
Max Rebo is listening to this right now, and
he's
taking
losing his
notes
mind.
on all the shit he's going to fucking write.
He's losing his mind.
Yeah.
You guys are so stupid.
We do
Why
this
do you have
for
a
you.
podcast?
60%. We don't lie.
You guys should stop and look stuff up before you start talking.
There's so much, and I've got severe ADD, and I'm sleep deprived. This is what you get.
You're not wrong, Max.
Did you see me yell at him the other day? I was like, look, I got 5 kids, 6 if you include my girlfriends. I work like 15 hours a fucking day, and I sleep 5 to 6 hours. I can't give you more than this.
Oh, that's funny. I think he enjoys it.
I
Anyway.
didn't yell at him, but yeah.
Did you have any others? That was all I had for the cast.
No, that's all I got on the list.
Okay, Maul Bag. Got 3 things in the Maul Bag. Email number 1, Max, speak of the devil, Max Rebo experience.
Yeah.
I hope you both had a satisfactory Russian Christmas.
Okay.
I mean, we're going to keep seeing it.
Yeah.
It's going to be every time it's going to be something. I'll be honest, I didn't even know they celebrated Christmas later in Russia, but apparently they do.
Okay.
So he's answering the questions you threw out.
Right.
What are you most hoping to see in the 3rd season of The Bad Batch? Force Ghost Tech. You son of a bitch. He's not dead, Max.
He's not dead.
He's not.
No, you know what they're going to find? They're going to find that he is in the computer. He's the ghost in the machine.
Oh. Hey, any way I can get him. It's fine.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we talked about kind of what we wanted to see in season 3. Did we not?
Last week, I think we did.
Okay, we did. All right. Then I won't get into that. I did mention how I want Sid to be murdered, right?
Yep. That was brought up. I think, yeah.
I think my new way is that Hunter sneaks up behind her, and instead of doing like the piano wire, like strangulation, she strangles him with Tech's goggles.
She strangles him?
Or he strangles her with Tech's goggles.
Yeah.
So Tech gets his revenge in a way.
I like that. That's dark.
Yeah, it is dark. And then like the shot is her on the floor with her lifeless eyes staring at the goggles sitting right next to her.
Oh, the reflection off the goggles.
Oh, yeah.
And her fucking tongue is just sticking out of her head.
We're here to write scripts, guys. We're available.
Yep.
Okay. Does the title of The Mandalorian and Grogu sit well with you? This, again, is your question. It's a bit lame, but harkens back to Lone Wolf and Cub, which is probably why they chose it. It should be The Mandalorian and Grogu, a Star Wars story. I mean, sure, to go along with Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
Rogue One,
I think
Star
they
Wars story.
decided to drop that. I get that, though. But also, no, it doesn't bother me, and I think it is exactly why it's called The Mandalorian and Grogu.
They like to keep things simple.
Yeah.
They don't want to confuse people.
Right.
You know, they don't want to call it the Djarin Bunch. And then in the next thing you know, people don't know what they're talking about.
Why get creative with a title when those two names are the biggest in Star Wars right now? Mm-hmm. Those, I mean, instant name recognition. So you go, whether you like the fucking title or not, you know what you're going to see. And for people who don't follow movies and all of a sudden are just in the theater one day and see a poster that says The Mandalorian and Grogu, oh shit, they're making a movie on that? You know?
Do you know what the movie was called that they made about Iron Man? It's called Iron Man.
Yeah, it sure was.
So.
And Batman?
Batman.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And then, I mean, the sequel was Batman Returns.
Right.
Yeah.
Keeps going. What are the odds that Rey is pregnant with Force Ghost Kylo's offspring? I cannot wait to get into that conversation at some point. Less than 0.0. Too many problems with consent for this day and age. Lucas would totally have done it, though.
Oh, he would have, too. And also, like, Rey wasn't saying no to this.
She was down.
It wasn't even like a, no, stop it.
No. She was all aboard the
she's like,
the Ben train.
What we saw was the PG cut. It was a longer scene where his hand slides down and goes, wrist deep, like Chris Klein.
Way to bring it back.
Yeah.
Like Chris Klein. Oh, fuck.
He was up for the role of Kylo.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. He keeps coming up. All right. So email number 2. Thank you, Max. Email number 2 from Mike Laybourne. Aw. We haven't heard from Mike in a while.
I know. I was thinking about the other day. I was like, does he listen anymore?
I was starting to worry. Like, make sure the family's okay. Everything's
welcome
going
back,
right for you,
Laybourne.
Mike. Yeah. Welcome back. Happy to have you back. We hope you win the Darksaber.
Mm-hmm.
So, and by the way, we're supposed to do a FACPA breakdown with him at some point. We had that kind of roughly scheduled. Right. So that's something we need to book.
Oh, also, before you go into Mike Laybourne, back to Max Rebo, I started reading the story that he has written, and it's going to go well with one of the ones that I'm writing. So, yeah, they kind of
it's a two-parter.
Yeah, not real, but they have similar setting, we'll say.
Okay, good. So he does the same thing, answering your questions. What are you most hoping to see in the third season? By the way, when I was looking through this originally, I was going, why is Mike saying the same shit Max Rebo's saying? Is that the same guy? And then I realized,
it took me until I got down to deconstructing Dan when I realized, why are they answering the same questions? They're on the same page. And I was like, oh, there's a tweet that I put out.
Yes, because for a second I thought, well, when Mike got quiet, Max Rebo popped his head up. Are they the same person? Right. Is this like a split personality situation going on? What are you most hoping to see in the third season of The Bad Batch? I'm looking forward to seeing the Bad Batch face off against the only team in the galaxy that's superior in every way. Is this...
It's the Penguins of Madagascar.
Oh, these are Madagascar. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck are these things? Does the title, Mandalorian and Grogu, sit well with you? He says, we all know it's going to be the spiritual sequel to Turner and Hooch. So just call it whatever you want. Oh, wow.
There's no... What's the...
I don't remember that movie at all.
Where he's eating the seat. He's in the back seat eating the headrest of the driver's seat, and Tom Hanks is yelling at him.
I don't remember that film at all. I mean, I saw it back in the day. I don't remember 1 ounce of it. What are the odds Rey is pregnant with Force Ghost Kylo's offspring? Wait, are you saying she slept with Force Ghost Kylo? As in she banged a ghost? I think that's what you're saying.
See our previous answer. Also, like, the way he asked this, I see that scene in Ghostbusters where Rey's just laying in bed.
Yeah.
And that ghost is hovering over him, and she just unzips his pants.
Yes.
Why is Star Wars brave enough to do that? I know.
PG movie.
Also, one of the most scariest openings I've ever seen as a kid.
Yes.
Where that fucking ghost turns around and just screams at the librarian.
Right.
Your shit, man.
I mean, it's a topic maybe for you to do on 7 Days a Geek sometime or something, but PG rated movies.
Mm-hmm. In the 80s.
Did I tell you I watched Airplane with my younger son? PG.
Is that PG?
Oh, it ain't PG.
Wow.
You got naked boobs. You got like, at one point the pilot like walks up to this section of magazines and it says whacking material.
That movie still stands up as like one of the funniest, like joke for joke. Man,
it is filled. Everything in the background is happening. It's wild. All right. Oh, and he finishes it with hashtag justice for Toro. Fuck you.
That's
Mike.
for you.
All right. Email number 3, Deconstructing Dan. Greetings from the sandy scrublands of the Jersey Pine Barrens. First time communicator, long time listener here. This is your co-host on the Deconstructing Dad show. Will the new Mandalorian and Grogu movie wrap up their storyline, or is it only the beginning of their movie franchise? It's only the beginning, Dan.
Yeah, I feel like we answered this at the beginning, Dan. Thanks for emailing the show late in the game.
I mean, unless it tanks at the box office, I suppose. But
could you imagine, like, if it does worse than Solo?
Oh, God. Yeah, then what's your opinion, everybody?
Oh, man.
Maybe Solo wasn't so bad. Will the Skeleton Crew scare up an audience once it starts streaming? I sure hope so. When it comes to kids... A lot of people, are drawn to those types of movies. There's a nostalgia factor and stuff, thinking about your childhood. Unless you're Neighbor Cole, then you hate everything with kids in it.
Right, yeah. He sure does.
Will the Bad Batch wind up in a crusty gray gym sock in some dark corner of the Outer Rim? Are you implying the Bad Batch is like a load you just blew in your bedroom as a teenager?
I think that's what he's implying.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't know if I would liken it to that, but sure.
I don't think they would liken it either.
It did get me horny a couple times. Yeah. Will Jason the Angry Ginger ever have his dream fulfilled? Will Kyle finally turn to the dork side to fulfill Jason's Mon Mothma cosplay kink?
I read this to her, and she laughed. And I was like, no, I want to know. What's your answer? I
don't think you should touch that. I think it could go awry. I think it would make everything awkward. I think you need to keep him on here.
Yeah,
here.
yeah. You don't mix your mistress with your unwife.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you don't eat with your wipe hand or whatever. These are the answers
Same
we need.
thing.
Your faithful ginger Wookiee sidekick, Chew Bubba. Chew Bubba. All right, thanks for all the Maul Bag entries, and now we have a voicemail. It's time.
Wait, did you forget one?
Did I miss one?
Will Dave Filoni finally prove he's the rightful heir to Lucas Empire?
Oh shit, I missed that. I'm
or
sorry.
will he crash and burn into a moon of Endor like the second Death Star? I don't think he's going to crash. I mean, he's been doing it for way too long to even make that analogy at this point.
Right. I think he's the rightful heir. We have faith. We believe in Filoni.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Dan, I missed that one. All right, FACPA Answering Machine. RFB.
Oh, here we go.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Darth Matthews, Jason, Royal Farm Boy. Got me to pause my playlist, as did a couple other Pods friends, putting out some messages for them.
Have you seen what he's been doing? He's been so starved because there's not as many regular shows. He's been going back and
just listen to a whole library, right?
Well, like he'll go back through a show. Like he did The Mandalorian season 1, season 2, and went back and listened to all the episodes for people recapping, episode 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went back and did all
wow.
that. I think he did. Maybe he did Bad Batch too. I can't remember, but that's what he's been doing. Like he mixes that in when he doesn't have enough shows stacked up.
That's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
Sitting here just going over some of the info we were given only about a day ago. It was yesterday, on this Wednesday, late afternoon for me. The Mandalorian and Grogu. And if that's what they're calling it, then that's what it's called. Or I wouldn't say maybe they, more Jon Favreau. It's his story.
Right. Tell me a story.
Interesting to me that it's looking right now like it's moved the Rey New Jedi Order off to the side, and this will be the next story coming at us in May of 2026.
Yep.
Curious to see what becomes the New Jedi Order.
So we have 4 Star Wars movies coming, starting in 26 then?
So you've got
Favreau's, we have the Rey, we have Filoni's, and then we have Mangold. Right?
Yes. And then if you're to believe, we also are supposed to get a Lando film at some point, Taika at some point.
And then sequels will spawn from those. Sean Levy's, yeah.
So there's a lot in the queue, but only those 4 are like officially announced, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Also, another curiosity to me is it ain't been rightly said whether or not this is Mando and Grogu is going to be season 4, because there were rumors last year.
Well, I think he sent this in before the latest rumors came out.
Oh, okay.
Because he's always watching that guy's show and stuff, so he would know more than anyone. Or
what do you believe? Do you think, one, that they are going to do a 4th season, 6 episodes, and then the movie, or do you think there will be that, or is it just the film and the information is wrong?
I think your point is valid in that the season 3 ended in a way that is perfectly set up to go to a movie format right away. I think that's true. However, I also see some validity in saying, you know what, let's ramp up the action for this with a season, and then it's going to create this buzz with a cliffhanger to watch a movie and get everybody to the theater. If you don't create the buzz and the build up with a season 4, do you get as many people going and filling, putting butts in seats if there isn't that cliffhanger? Because right now it's just open ended and there's no tension right now in the Mando.
I can see that, like
world.
if it's let's go find out what happened to Grogu and what's his point in the story, right? So there's 6 episodes, and then the finale is the movie, and that's where we get all our fucking answers.
Yeah.
But like someone was saying, well, the way they said it was like it's going to be the season finale, and I don't want it to. I don't mean this negatively, but I don't want it to look.
You mean the series finale?
Season finale.
Oh, you're saying the movie's going to be the season finale for? I got it.
Possibly, yes. That's what one of the rumors were.
Sure.
So you get 6 episodes, and then the season finale is the movie. But I want it to look bigger. I don't want just volume shit. As much as we appreciate it, like if they're going movie, it needs to be throw another 100 million at it, and I want a fucking space opera.
I agree 100%. This is something I actually thought of, and I meant to mention it earlier, is that exact point, is if you're doing a season 4 that leads into the movie, I hope you're not filming it all the same way.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to see the last 2 episodes in the theater.
then you better be filming all of season 4 at like a movie.
Exactly.
You
Yes.
know, cheat that way, not just do an extension. I agree with that. 1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And save Jack Black for the movie.
Oh boy, I'm not going to touch that.
Okay.
We heard him running around that season 4, Lucasfilm was kind of looking at maybe wanting to tell it in film form instead of on Disney Plus. Right. And twice those rumors run around, and twice they was shot down by MSW and Bespin Bulletin. Once in the summer, and the second time was right around November. And we're still early on, so it's curious to see whether it could turn up to be. We get season 4 of Mandalorian, Mando and Grogu, and the crossover story that David Filoni's going to tell. Maybe that's 2027. So as we go through days and weeks, and curious to see what does turn up.
Yeah, I was going to say I do like the idea of if they do have a May and December release in 26, I do kind of like, I don't know, I kind of like it both ways. I like the idea. Yeah, I like the idea, just like Chris Klein.
Yeah,
you know, I like the idea of doing it, you know, Mando and then the Mandoverse film, the Favreau and then Filoni films in the same year. So you go bam, bam. You know, I like that idea. But at the same time, I also like the idea of saying, let it be December of the next year for the second film, because that gives you more room to put another series season or something like that in between.
I agree, yeah.
And let Rey be the December 26th film.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right.
Also grateful for friends that are still sitting behind microphones and giving us some good listening.
You're welcome.
I'm looking.
Do you see, like, we're talking about all of this content. We're going to be in our 50s covering this stuff still.
I know. It's scary.
I mean, I've been doing this for 15 years. It doesn't seem like you're drying out from it yet either. So, like, can you imagine us still doing this, like, in 5 years from now?
Well, could you imagine? Well, no, even better. It's going to be like 30 years from now. We're going to be like.
You think I'm forgetful now? Holy shit. You are going to have to become a master editor.
Well, it'll be me too. We won't remember a goddamn thing. We'll be like, remember Mandalorian? I don't know. Who played in that? Was that Ewan McGregor? Yeah. We're going to be a fucking mess. All right. He's almost done.
Forward to next FACPA in my playlist, and hopefully in other friends' playlist too.
Yeah.
And then I'll go and do what I do with it and have fun listening.
Here's my
Until
promise
the next,
to you,
fellas.
Hold on.
See you on the radio. Long live the Empire.
He always says that.
RFB, when we get to retirement age, we'll do 2 a week.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
No, daily. Let's go daily.
Oh, why not? Yeah. Hey, let's move into the same, like, old age community.
Oh, boy.
You know, and we'll just.
And bring in other people. Earl, get in here and get on mic.
Yeah, Earl.
I love the fact that, by the way, I'd use an old person's name now.
Yeah. That's my
30
middle
years
name.
from now. Oh, is it? There you go. You got an old person middle name.
I'm there. Yeah.
It made me think just now. He is a former member of the 501st.
That's right. How are you a former member? Did he not pay his dues? Was he kicked out?
There's a whole
What's the
story behind it, and I can't remember. I think we speculated on it just for fun, but we might have to have RFB come on and just tell us how the 501st thing fell out.
Yeah.
But that made me think, I know there's a lot of people that are in that. Was there ever Christina crossover?
Oh, yeah.
I'm wondering.
Oh, like, does he know? Well, I don't know, because she's with the 501st TIE fighter, whatever, right?
I can't remember what she said.
That's the costume thing that she put together.
Okay, and he was more like officer. Well, I think he did trooper stuff, though.
Okay.
What did she call it? Didn't she call it trooping? Isn't that what the word was?
Yes, I think you're right, yeah.
Because she kept saying it, and I was like, I guess that's the term they use. Anyway, we'll have to find that out. RFB, do you know Christina? Christina, do you know RFB? Yeah. All right, well, that was it. Thank you, RFB.
So we'll be back next week. We don't know with what. So for now, thank you for listening. And until next time,
Laugh it up, fuzzballs.
we have spoken.